into making things better than the way we found them.
America is ready to get back to work.
And we can start by rebuilding our infrastructure,
strengthening our manufacturing base,
and investing in our businesses and our communities.
Made in America means hundreds of thousands of new jobs across the country.
It means new transportation, clean energy, and telecommunications networks.
It means a healthier environment,
national security, and economic freedom.
That's good for our families, good for the world,
and good for our future.
Let's get America back to work.
Let's invest in Ohio.
Let's invest in us. Learn more at let'sinvestinus.com.
Paid for by Citizens for Responsible Energy Solutions Forum.
Thank you for riding with the Watchdog. Live and local, just the way you like it.
Live and local conversation for the Ohio Valley continues shortly, here on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
In a divided year, we can still be united through giving. There's a $300 above-the-line tax deduction this year thanks to the CARES Act. You can take a $300 deduction for charitable donations. As an organization that promotes giving, the United Way of the Upper Ohio Valley encourages you to utilize this tax deduction. Consider making a donation to a nonprofit agency with a cause that's important to you. Any donation made to the United Way will go towards our annual campaign supporting local programs focusing on the community's toughest needs.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday. Mostly sunny skies, a high near 41. Partly cloudy through the overnight with lows of about 22 degrees. You'll see plenty of sunshine mixing in with just a few clouds for your Wednesday, with highs in the low 50s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Conversations you care about with people you know. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
You know, I always, as a radio station programmer, I always try to make sure that a guest host who fills in stays in the same general type of category as the regular host. It's too jarring to get somebody filling in for me who is way over there, radical QAnon right wing. That's just not me, and therefore the audience doesn't expect it, and it's very jarring. And I try to keep that in mind all the time. I mention it because, Biff, last night on WVOY, we had a nut job on. I mean an absolute nut job. I'm not talking about Big Rick. No, that's not what I'm saying. Rick is a good guy. Now, I was listening late last night to WVOY, and we had, it's the Jim Bohannon show. And Jimbo, I've known Jim a little bit over the years. I've met him. We've talked. Jim Bohannon is kind of a, I'm not sure I call him a moderate politically guy, but his show is the kind of show where he brings all kinds of interesting people in and gives people, he's kind of like Hoppy Kercheval. All right. He may lean to the right, but the show is kind of straight down the middle. Here's an interesting guest. Let's talk about things. All right. And so I often listen to Jim Bohannon. Last night, Jim was away, and they had some bozo on. I mean, oh, my God. I mean, he was into the whole election was a fraud and stolen, and Donald Trump is still going to be the election. Trump has actually won. Joe Biden is a criminal. He's got a history of corruption. This one I loved. Someone called in and said, well, you know, when you talk about moral character, I mean, look at all the lawsuits against Trump. Trump has won every lawsuit ever brought against him. No, he didn't. I mean, it was just, this guy was crazy. He was driving me crazy. And that's why I hate it when somebody comes on a station or a radio show and is so different than what you're expecting that it just drives you crazy. I couldn't help but comment. It was our own station last night. It just drove me, The guy was on, it was happy to proclaim that he's been banned from YouTube. And when he gave his way to get in touch with him, it wasn't Facebook or Twitter, it was using Parler. So, radical right-wing QAnon, just a nut job on our own radio station. And at the end of his show, he goes, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Yes, you are! I'm sorry, I just couldn't help it. I just couldn't help but rant about that. Coming up today on this show, March Madness is coming, which means our Watchdog Madness contest gets underway today, and we start to gather entrants for a chance to win a big screen TV. Zoom is a great tool that even helps our legal system, but sometimes Zoom in court goes off the rails. I'll share some stories with you. The West Virginia Senate has passed the charter school bill now, but the price tag for the voucher bill has gotten so staggeringly high in a fiscal note that they're holding passage of that up until they can figure out what to do. $126 million is what that bill has gone up to now. That's what's going to come out of our public school system and go to private schools if this bill passes. The governor has been ordered to resign. Actually, it's not true. It was a settlement. So he agreed. Governor Justice agreed he will reside in Charleston as the Constitution demands, part of a settlement with his case with Isaac Spinagle, who's been on this show before. Raising the minimum wage may or may not be part of the COVID relief package in the Senate, but it does remain a Biden priority. Ryan Frankenberry from Working Families West Virginia comes in next hour to talk about how a minimum wage increase impacts the amount of the state. We'll talk about a couple of D.C. stories in a minute here with our D.C. reporter, Tom Squitieri. The latest info on COVID vaccines and some reasons why we still need to take precautions after getting it coming up. And a story that just drove me crazy last hour. I never even heard of it until ABC told me about it at the top of the hour last hour. 6 Dr. Seuss titles are being taken off the marketplace because of racist depictions in them. Dr. Seuss. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I Am. Cat in the Hat. How can Dr. Seuss be racist? But it's out there. Tom Squitieri is our D.C. reporter. Tom, have you heard these stories about Dr. Seuss being racist?
I heard that, but, this is Dr. Seuss's birthday today.
Right, exactly.
And what many people may not know is that Dr. Seuss, Theodore Geisel,
Ted Geisel, right?
He was born in 1904, and during World War II, he was a cartoonist for the United States War Department. And some of his drawings are just incredible. The one that was sent to me by a friend to remind me was how there's a, quote unquote, democracies holding up a lollipop to the hydra of Nazism and, terrorism and saying, here, I'm sure you'll be happy with this one lollipop. And, it's just amazing. But it looks like a Dr. Seuss drawing, the same type of drawing that I think of in the Cat in the Hat, the way that the children were portrayed, the way the style of drawing. Yeah, I saw a story that caught my eye on this was where President Biden did not mention Dr. Seuss in National Readout Day or whatever the day is called, and Read Aloud Day. Thank you, and that's what led me to read a story about some of the books that were being taken out by libraries because of portrayal of individuals and ethnic groups that we look at today that would not have been portrayed that way if they were written today. It's one of these. It's an interesting question to me about literature, and I'm stepping back from Dr. Seuss when I make this observation. Is that for a long time, Huckleberry Finn was regarded, still is regarded as one of the great classic writings of American literature, and Twain. No history that I could see of that Twain was considered a racist in any way, but his portrayal of Jim and other African Americans in the book today could be looked at as being racist because he wrote Huck Finn in vernacular both for Huck as well as Jim and others in the book, and that's considered racist by many people. I'm not commenting on that one way or other. I'm just observing the fact that we have to take things I sometimes think in, especially for literature, and that Huck Finn's the one example of that. I read that book as a child, and I said, "Wow, this is very interesting." It was interesting on so many levels, and I remember asking, I think, my parents as well as my teacher, why it was. I couldn't understand some of the words because of the way it was written. And so that's the way people spoke then. Okay. Not white or black, but how people spoke then. I don't know. Obviously, you're probably going to get a lot of complaints about what I just said, and people have their thoughts on it. But yeah, it's stunning to think about Dr. Seuss' book being considered racist.
Yeah, on Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer particularly, because that's a little higher level of reading, which means that the kids who read them tend to be older and able to deal with the historical context a whole lot better. I hate the idea that we we censor books because they reflect an opinion of or the language of the time in which they were written. I mean, it's just reality. That's what people talked like when Mark Twain wrote Huckleberry Finn or Tom Sawyer. And people who want to take that out, it's not racist, it's just historical, and that's just the way it is. I have yet to figure out, though, what the Seuss problem is. I have not seen examples yet of what it is they think is racist in Dr. Seuss. So I'm not sure.
And I also, going back to Mark Twain for a moment, he his sense of humor, of course, is just incredible. I believe, and I'm happy to say that, and I'll defend my position. Some of the short stories, The Jumping Frogs of Calaveras County, in all these books and short stories, he pokes fun at a lot of people. That's different than racist imagery. I realize that. Connecticut Yankee and King Alfred's Court, for example. So, the fact that they will not publish in the House, they will not publish these with a mouse, these books of Dr. Seuss now, it's kind of odd to think of that. I did look up the names while we were speaking here, and I didn't read any of these books of Dr. Seuss, the 6 that are going to stop being published.
Yeah,
so,
I didn't either. So I'm a little I'm kind of out of sync.
So I'm not
I didn't
sure
either.
exactly what the context is that they're talking about.
I also think sometimes we don't give kids enough credit. It's not quite analogy, but the example I was using last hour on this is when I was a little kid. When I was a little kid and I watched the Saturday morning cartoons, Wile E. Coyote was always dropping an anvil on the Roadrunner, right?
Right.
And the Roadrunner would go beep beep, and he'd get up and run away.
Yeah.
Never once did I think that I should drop an anvil on somebody, nor did I ever think that an anvil being dropped on a human being was a good idea. I was able as a kid to know I'm enjoying this cartoon. It's a cartoon. It's not real life. I can't help but think when kids are reading Dr. Seuss, they're watching the word. It's primarily for the wordplay. What makes Dr. Seuss so special is the wordplay. And they're listening to the flavor of the words and the rhythm of the words. They're looking at the Seussian pictures. I don't know that they're absorbing any message of colonialism or what have you. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I'm going to be very daring here. And tell you what I absorbed from those Saturday morning cartoons, and particularly the Bugs Bunny cartoons. That is where the first places I learned about classical music, because of the scores that were part of those cartoons, the musical scores. A lot of times, Bugs would be fitting tuxedo with tails at a piano, playing some kind of classical song, and this is not to dismiss or apologize for anything bad in these cartoons that people see, but to me, you talk about what kids take away from that. I took away not the anvil on the Roadrunner, but the classical music scores that were in these cartoons.
That's a great point. Those cartoons had, of course, cartoons back in those days. God, I sound like an old man now. But cartoons back in those days had layers and depth to them. It wasn't just smashing the Roadrunner with an anvil. You're right, there was classical music. There were sort of two levels that they worked on sometimes. Those cartoons were really much more complicated than we realized as a kid, I think. So that's a great point for me.
And I'll offer one more thought on this. Is one of the stories I always wanted to do, and maybe I still will do as a news person, is to go to about 8 to 20 companies named Acme and ask them, why are you calling yourself Acme? Don't you realize this is what was in the Roadrunner? Who was always ordering equipment from Acme something.
Exactly. All right, well, we've used up the first segment. Let me take a quick break. I want to come back and talk about some politics and other D.C. things, so hang in there. Tom Squitieri, our D.C. reporter, is with us here on the Watchdog Morning Show. It's 8:22.
This guy knows so much about sports. They base the sports.
But the Highlands with another steal of a deal. Get a steak burger and fries all day Monday for only $8.99. It's also Military Mondays. The Lube will take 25% off for all veterans, active duty military, and first responders. Quaker Steak and Lube voted Best Wings USA.
Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 83 want to thank the owners and contractors of the Ohio Valley for using their locally trained workers to help build for the future. Local 83 helps design, fabricate, and build the gas infrastructure for the oil and gas industry here in the Ohio Valley. Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 83 is 300 members strong and growing. They also do residential, commercial, and industrial work on both sides of the river. For more information, call Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 83 at 304-233-4445.
Lansing. The Watchdog is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Poppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. Lansing trusts the Watchdog.
Miss a part of the show? Want to hear a segment again? Check out our podcast page at watchdognetwork.com. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
825, 20 degrees. What we're looking at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. Sunshine and blue skies out there, looking gorgeous, but only 20 degrees. It feels like temperature of 11, and we're only going up to the 40s today, so it's going to be a cool day, but the sun is going to be out, and so that's pretty good. We are talking at DC. Well, we weren't, but we will now talk about things happening in the nation's capital with our DC reporter, Tom Squitieri. I always get off track sometimes, Tom. I apologize for that. I'm not sure where you wanted to go with talk today, but I have a couple of stories I just want to get your take on. One of them is the Andrew Cuomo story. Does this story have legs? We now have 3 women making allegations against him.
I think it has legs as a story, a news story. Clearly, what happens in these cases, and I've written about them in the past with other individuals, is that if indeed there are more allegations out there, more incidents that have perhaps occurred, once the first 1 or 2, or in this case 3, come out, other people who feel they have been victimized, let me just add, I'm speaking in the general terms here and not necessarily about Governor Cuomo, who feel they've been victimized or were victimized, feel more secure about coming out with their story. So I think as a news story, Governor Cuomo's has legs, because now we're at that point where I just said that if others feel that they have been victimized, and when I use the word feel, I'm just saying that in a professional journalist way, not suggesting one way or the other that these stories are accurate or not. They will find ways to share their stories. Now, I can't get a handle on exactly what's happening. I think there's now there's going to be an investigation. I'm not sure who's doing it because it's switched from a couple entities in New York State who's going to do the investigation. But the investigation, Governor Cuomo has a lot of enemies in the state, as most politicians who have been in office a long time do. That's a very hard brass knuckle type of political state. So it will not be lacking with sources and information coming out about his behavior, true or otherwise. So as a news story, in other words, as a story that's going to stay in front of the public, especially in New York State, I think in New York City, it's going to continue.
He hasn't exactly denied the allegations. He said they were he was misinterpreted in the things he said and the things that he did. There are some pictures of him holding the cheeks of this latest person and apparently kissed her, but he said it was at a wedding. And I can get that too. His explanation makes some sense, but the problem is the weight of this is now 3 always creates. It's difficult to alibi away after 1 or 2. I guess is what I'm saying, and I'm not prejudging at all. I really want to wait and see, because I think, quite frankly, we have prejudged too many people recently, in recent years, without fully looking into them. I got criticized yesterday for talking about this, and somebody said, "Yeah, you wanted Brett Kavanaugh crucified because..." No, I was among those who felt that Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing should have been delayed until there was an actual official investigation into it. Same thing I would say here with Cuomo as well. There needs to be a truly impartial, well-vetted investigation.
I think that's again, stepping into the broader issue, I think you put your finger on what I think. One of the dangers of our media today, with news cycles being non-existent essentially, and social media and stuff that gets out there without kind of being vetted, as we would have vetted in the old days in the media, it doesn't give anybody a fair shake necessarily in a situation like that, including those who make accusations. Because what happens sometimes is those who then are accused become targets of supporters of the person who's being accused, and the media then rips them apart as well without proper time to truly investigate it. This is not making a judgment on the merits of these charges. This is just fairness to everybody. Governor Cuomo is the governor of New York State, and if he did what he's accused of, it'll be determined, and then people can then determine what should happen. And I understand people seeking justice for this is very important. Justice is too often denied to too many people in this country in a lot of ways. So I want to make that clear. But, just think about one of the senators. We don't have to talk about his name if we don't want to. He was hounded out of office for something that later turned out to be not what it seemed to have been when it was first charged. So I think that you're right, that we should slow down a little bit sometimes on these accusations to make sure that they're fully aired with a full benefit of time. Not too much time. I'm not trying to delay it, because that's what happens a lot. But to make sure that those who accuse and those who are being accused have their stories told accurately and clearly.
And we tend to want to go right for the ultimate penalty. I don't know who it is, because I only heard a headline of this from ABC at the top of the hour, but apparently at least one Democratic person, and that's all I can say, one person who is a Democrat, has called for Cuomo's resignation. We always go right for the ultimate sanction instead of saying, I think we all should call for an investigation. Allegations have now been made public. Let's have an investigation. Let's find out. When we know what the details are, we can determine how serious it is and what should be done, if anything, about Andrew Cuomo. But we have a tendency to want to jump right away to that. And let's go back to Al Franken.
Yeah, that's who I was referring to.
Yeah, exactly. I assumed that was. Al Franken was just, I don't know, railroad is not quite the right word, but allegations came up, and within a matter of days, he was gone. Because, we better get him out of the Senate, rather than taking enough time to do a good investigation. So I think,
I'm going to talk about that for 1 second, if I may, because one of the leading colleagues of Al Franken to say he must resign and was leading the charge against him was a Democratic U.S. Senator from New York State, and now she's been silent so far on this allegation. So, I think it's each circumstance is different, but I think Al Franken's case is a great example. You say he was railroaded, may have been railroaded. You don't want to use that word. I would use that word. That he was. I smelled something bad from the very beginning, not because I'm a particular supporter or opponent of Al Franken. I just thought, this is a little bit just too convenient when you see who made the accusation in the background there, and then subsequent photos that broadened out the whole idea of what may or may not have happened. That's where
Tom Scudieri, our DC reporter this morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Tom, CPAC over the weekend, Donald Trump, the big speaker. Anything surprising about what Trump said or what happened at CPAC this weekend to you?
Nothing really. Donald Trump did a great performance by him to people who love him. And he teased them about maybe running again in 2024. He repeated the things that they believe and they like to hear. He did have a line in there about urging people to get vaccinations, which is the first time he's ever said that. Of course, that comes out now. It came out yesterday, that he and the First Lady, when he was still president, did get vaccinated in the White House while they were in the White House, and never announced that. So that was an interesting twist. But no, I think that I think it's very interesting. In a poll, the CPAC straw polls have basically been meaningless over the past several years. It's the flavor of the moment. I mean, Mitt Romney won the poll a couple times. Other people have as well. Jeb Bush won it, the year, and Donald Trump was third or fourth in that poll, and Trump went on to win the nomination. So the poll doesn't surprise me, other than the fact that you see the relative merits of the people who are not named Donald Trump and where they stack up against each other. But, it was a nice exercise. It was in Orlando. It wasn't in the D.C. area. Florida is a very full of a lot of pro-Trump states. Governor DeSantis is a big Donald Trump supporter. It was what I thought it would be.
I was a little bit surprised, though, that in the straw poll, and it's a straw poll, they're hard to, really assess, as you point out. But in a straw poll of CPAC attendees, which are the most, I don't use the word radical, but the most aggressive of the base, that he only got, 55% of the vote? Now, I would have expected.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
In the straw poll, I would have expected him to do 95% of the vote. He won, no question about that. And the next one was DeSantis, who was significantly down, 20 points lower or something like that. But still, it fascinates me that at a CPAC convention, when asked who do you want to be your 2024 nominee, Donald Trump only got 55% of the vote. Maybe I'm reading it wrong.
No, I think that's a fair reading of it, and I was wondering as to the reasons why, and I think there's some people confused as to whether they want him to run again for president or just sort of want to be the leader of their movement, and that's the only thing I could think of. The other, on that straw poll, I think Governor DeSantis was second, and Governor Noem of South Dakota, she was third, and without President Trump in the post, they were 1 and 2. And I was excited. Here's our great winning ticket for 2024, DeSantis Noem. And I just thought to myself, wonder how long that was going to last. That sort of that passion for the moment. It's the passion for the weekend. But you're right. It's an interesting note for President Trump. I'm sure there's a reason for it. But again, it's a small group, and I think their influence is less limited now than it was, say, 4 years ago because of diversification within the elements of the party that used to be the Republican Party and now is made up of a lot of different factions.
All right. A couple of things I want to talk to you about. Tom, I appreciate your time today and your insight into Dr. Seuss and Mark Twain, as well as CPAC and other things. And you and I will get together again next Tuesday. Thanks a lot, my friend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, have a good day. Tom Scudieri, our D.C. reporter, checking in this morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. 8:36, 24 before the hour, 20 degrees still. Let me just double-check that, if it's still 20 degrees. Well, we picked up a soldier, Biff. 21 degrees. Whew, heat wave coming. With 8-mile-an-hour winds, it feels like it's 11 degrees outside. We'll go to the courtroom via Zoom coming up in a minute or two. Plus, we'll head down to Charleston for the Capitol Report and some conversation about what's happening in the legislature. That's all coming up next here on the Watchdog Morning Show.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for...
Do you have the 3 Zoom cuts, 2 from yesterday, 1 from today, Biffy? Okay, thanks. We'll do that next. Excuse me.
teams ranked in the top 18. All right, what's Baylor's biggest thing that they can do? Well, the scary thing is both things when it comes to basketball. They lead the league in scoring offense at 79 points per game. They are number one in scoring defense, giving up just 64.5 points per contest. It has all the makings. A great opportunity for West Virginia as Bob Huggins searches for win number 899. Join us this afternoon beginning at 4, tip set for 5. That is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Carudi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
The members of Roofers Union Local 188 in Wheeling remind us, while we may consider it a right to receive blood when hospitalized, we must also consider the responsibility to donate blood to maintain the supply for the community. This message from all the great and caring folks, the members of Roofers Union Local 188 out of Wheeling, representing licensed, bonded, and insured roofers for all residential and commercial projects. That's Roofers Union Local 188 in Wheeling, wishing everyone a safe and healthy year.
Listen to the Bill DeFabio Variety Show with Bill DeFabio and Lola Miller. Weekdays noon to 2 on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog. WKKX and WVLY. Voted coolest couple in their high school yearbook.
From the West Virginia Broadcasting Hall of Fame, directly to you. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
It's 21 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, 21 degrees here at my home studios in Elm Grove, 21 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Thanks to those of you watching us on Facebook Live video. Always like to mention that. I appreciate you watching us. I'd love for you to listen to us on any of our various broadcast frequencies, FM 97.7, FM 98.1, AM 1600, AM 1370. Use the TuneIn Radio app to listen to us that way. Get it at watchdognetwork.com. Any of those ways. Appreciate you listening. Just love it. But you can also catch the video cast on Facebook Live, on my Facebook page, and on the Watchdogs Facebook page. The video cast also is recycled directly into our website, watchdognetwork.com, so you can watch it there. So thank you for watching, and I would ask that you like us and share us. If you'd like us, I'd appreciate that. Hit the like button and share the video feed with your timeline, your news feed. Let your friends on Facebook know what you're watching in the mornings as well. So please do that. Like and share off of Facebook Live, again, on my page or on the Watchdogs page. Most of the time. I think I forgot to put it on my page for an hour yesterday. And believe it or not, people actually paid attention to that. I got a text saying, I don't think you put your Facebook up on 8 o'clock hours. Oh, jeez, I'm sorry. So if you can't catch it on one page, catch it on the other. Sometimes it's just, come on, I'm 68 years old. I'm old. My mind doesn't always work as well as it should. One of our Facebook listeners, or viewers, I guess, sent me a picture from a Dr. Seuss book. I don't know what book it's from, and it's a little bit blurry just because it's the way it was sent. But if it looks to me, it's a cage with a Seussian character, a Seussian monster, Seussian, it looks like a Dr. Seuss character inside the cage. Cat in the Hat is riding on top of the cage, and the cage is being carried on the heads of what look like 3 Japanese gentlemen. So I think that's an example of probably what they're talking about with Dr. Seuss being racist. These are the, 3 Japanese or Chinese. I'm not sure. 3 Orientals. I say Japanese because Seuss did some work for the War Department, as Tom Scudieri mentioned, during World War II, and some of his drawings were depicting the Japanese in a very negative light. So, at any rate, 3 Orientals carrying the Cat in the Hat and this little cage on top of them. So I guess that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. And yeah, is that inappropriate? Yes, it is. Is it, I don't know, is it inappropriate enough to pull the book from the marketplace? I don't know. Again, I just think sometimes we go too far. But anyways, I appreciate you sending it to me. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And you can send me messages via our Facebook Live feed. If you are watching on Facebook Live, you can use the chat function or the note function, whatever they call it, on Facebook Live. And I try to keep on track of everything: Twitter, regular texts, my own personal texts, things coming through on the Facebook feed. If you ever watch Hoppy Kercheval's feed on WVMetroNews.com, Hoppy's got like 6 monitors all around him. One for Twitter and one for text. I got one. Okay. I got one, and I got my iPad. And so I have to keep jumping back and forth. So if I miss something from you, I apologize. I try to keep on track of everything. Biff tries to help me out a lot by keeping track of the text line. But if I miss something, it's generally not because I'm trying to be mean or rude or skip you by. Hey, if you're looking for something to do at lunchtime today, it's Lunch with Books Day at the Ohio County Public Library. And today at noon, it's Irish author Billy O'Callaghan. He's the author of 3 short story collections, one called In Exile, one called Too Deep, and one, The Things We Lose, The Things We Leave Behind. I like that phrase, the things we lose, the things we leave behind. Also a best-selling novel, The Dead House, and a new novel coming out called My Coney Island Baby. Jonathan, or Billy O'Callaghan, will be the, I think he's actually coming. It's a live streamed event, Lunch with Books, at the Ohio County Library page, Facebook page, and their web page, I believe. Facebook page for the Ohio County Library, as well as their YouTube page. I think he's actually going to be doing it live from Ireland, I believe. But you can, Irish author Billy O'Callaghan will be on tap today at the Ohio County Library's Lunch with Books program, the premier program for the Ohio County Library, one that a lot of people are watching it online, but boy, I know a lot of people can hardly wait to get back. That was their social outing for the week, was going to the library on Wednesdays for Lunch with Books. But today and continuing, it's on live stream. By the way, when you watch the live stream, you have a chance to win a signed copy of the new novel, My Coney Island Baby. So check that out. If you're looking for something to do today, at noon, it's Lunch with Books at the Ohio County Library. It's 8:50, 10 till the hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Hold on a second. Okay, leave that alone. All right. Biff, Zoom is a great thing. Sometimes it wears me out, I'll be honest with you. The video feed that I send out during our video cast, I do via Zoom. So if you're watching this on video, it is zooming out of my house to the studio, and the studio, then we rebroadcast it via Facebook Live. The At Issue program was Liberty Television that John McCabe and I do every week. We do that via Zoom these days. So John's in his office, I'm here at my home studios, and we simply Zoom together for the At Issue program. I don't know, there is no planning commission meeting this week, but we have been holding our this month, I should say. We've been holding our planning commission meetings via Zoom. Now, city council is back in live session today, I think it is. So I don't know if we'll Zoom planning commission or not, but planning commission is often Zoomed. Multiple church meetings I attend are Zoomed. And so I'm just Zoom. It's a great way, in my opinion, Zoom is a great way for us to stay in contact. It's a great way for us to be able to communicate, especially during the pandemic. And it's even being used in the courtrooms, okay? It's even being used in the courtrooms. People are able to come in via Zoom to give testimony, or sometimes to, make a plea, those kinds of things. But sometimes it goes a little awry. A plastic surgeon in California Scott Green was his name, had received a traffic ticket. And he had a virtual court date set for last Tuesday. And so the judge, pounds his gavel. Will we now bring in the defendant, please? The man who has the ticket? Dr. Green, are you there? And they bring the Zoom up, and Dr. Green is there in an operating room operating on someone. The judge says, no, is this a good idea or not? The guy goes, yeah, don't worry about it.
Hello?
Are you available for trial? It kind of looks like you're in an operating room right now.
I am, sir. I'm in the operating room. Yes, I'm available for trial. Go right ahead.
So unless I'm mistaken, I'm seeing a defendant that's in the middle of an operating room appearing to be actively engaged in providing services to a patient.
I have another surgeon right here who's doing the surgery with me, so I can stand here and allow them to do the surgery also.
Not at all. I don't think that's appropriate. I think I'm going to come up with a different date.
Don't worry about it. This guy, we got his heart out, but Smitty over here can take care of it. Let's talk about my traffic ticket. Seriously. The judge says, not at all. No.
Nah, this ain't happening.
No. We're not going to do it. Guy in Michigan had a virtual court date last week over the issue of unpaid child support. So he zooms in, and the judge wasn't very happy with his appearance.
You must be Michael Wright.
Yes, sir.
We give you the opportunity to go put some clothes on.
Yeah.
It appears the defendant has out of bed and appears has clothed himself. Mr. Wright?
Yes, sir.
I'd be asking too much for you to be dressed when we have you come into court the next time.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
Yeah. Biff, any thought in your mind that perhaps that guy was a little intoxicated?
I kind of got that feeling too, yes.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. You want me to put clothes on? Oh, my God. So sometimes Zoom can really make things work well in the courtroom, but sometimes they go a little awry. And it isn't always in the courtroom either. We've heard all kinds of Zoom errors being made. The guy is Zooming and he doesn't realize the door to his bathroom is open behind him and his wife is on the toilet. Or we've had bizarre stories of guys, and this boggles my mind, who are pleasuring themselves while on Zoom or so on. Here's a story of a guy who left he was on a Zoom call for his work, and he left the Zoom call for a minute. Now, I try when I leave the Zoom call to put up, as I've just done here, a static picture of me so you don't see what I'm doing when I walk away. I try and do that. Don't always succeed, but I try and do it most of the time. So this guy didn't do that. He left his Zoom open, and he left to go do something. I don't know what. Have a cigarette. Fill his coffee cup. Go potty. I don't know. So he left. While he was gone, his young daughter, who was in the house, just came down and sat in front of the Zoom screen. Now, that's a pretty funny thing, right? Oh, we've had that happen here, Biffy. Teddy's come in while we're on the air and just pops up on Zoom. He likes to be on the Zoom screen. That happens sometimes. Problem was, this girl, while she was on Zoom with her daddy's work colleagues, promptly explained that her mom and dad were fighting.
Give me 1 second. I have to step away for a second. Melissa, can you catch everyone up on your progress?
Let's go over our plan for the campaign. We really want to emphasize.
What are you doing?
I made a card for Daddy in our class.
Oh, what's it for?
Yeah, let's see it. Can you show us? He said Daddy spent too much money on the Super Bowl.
Uh-oh, Daddy's in the Super Bowl, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Mommy said Daddy spent too much money on the Super Bowl.
Oh.
And, the guy's going to come back and say, what was the girl's, I forgot the woman's name, Dorothy, did you finish that explanation? No, I really didn't get to the explanation there because, why are you all laughing? Your daughter was on. Oh, no.
Oh.
Yeah. How much did you bet on the Super Bowl?
I hope he bet it on Tampa.
Yeah, it'll be better if you won. So those are examples of how, look, technology is wonderful. Technology advances us. Technology makes our lives easier. Technology is what allows me to be here in my home studio and broadcast to you via our radio technology and the Zoom technology, and it's what allows this to happen. Certainly critical during the pandemic, and I may stay here forever. I don't know. Bosses asked me a couple weeks ago, said, you ever coming back? And my honest answer was, I don't think so, no. Kind of like it here, just doing the thing from home. We got it figured out, right, Biffy? We got it figured out.
We do.
Thank God for Biff, but, if I didn't have Biff at the other end, it might be difficult, but this works out just fine. So, I love technology, but it can sometimes go awry. And the most important thing for anybody using any of the new technologies, including Zoom, to keep in mind is things can happen that you're not anticipating happening. People can see things that you don't think they can see. Again, I try my best to keep things I try my best to not, if I'm going to blow my nose or something, I try to put the picture up. But errors will happen, as we just heard in all of those stories. We're going to talk next hour about raising the minimum wage, the impact in West Virginia, plus some of the latest coming out of Charleston with their Capitol report. It's all coming up on this Tuesday edition of the Watchdog Morning Show. 21 degrees at 9 o'clock as we go to ABC, and they cover the world.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
From ABC News.
All right, Ryan Frankenberry is supposed to call us next. We're going to talk about the minimum wage. And I want to think about, let me tell you, tomorrow I've got a woman coming on from Mountain State Spotlight. Her name is Amelia. I think it's Nicely, but it's Knicely. Nicely. So this is tomorrow. But if you think about it, when she calls at 8:10, double check her last name pronunciation for me, will you? That's tomorrow, but I'm just thinking about it now. Because I'm assuming it's a silent K and then it's just Nicely, but it could be something else, so just let me know. That's tomorrow. All right, and Ryan is coming up next, so, or should be. All right, thanks. All righty.